Hello and welcome to Stay Paid, the sales and marketing podcast from ReminderMedia, where we talk about the strategies and tactics to help grow your business so you can live a life of freedom tomorrow, but only if you take action today. My name is Joshua Stike, Vice President of Marketing here at ReminderMedia, and with me is Luke Acree, President of ReminderMedia.
Hello, everybody.
And today we are going to be talking about the dreaded topic of budgets, specifically developing your marketing budget. So unless you're in finance, this is one of those topics that can clear a room out pretty quickly when broached because there are so many moving parts and variables that play into creating and then sticking to your marketing budget. And that can seem very daunting and overwhelming, but hopefully today,
the number one thing
down a little bit.
Yeah, the number one thing is most of us run away because I think, especially service-based sales professionals, real estate agents, insurance agents, financial advisors, our love is not budgeting. Well, maybe in finance, your love is budgeting. Maybe you love the numbers.
Yeah.
Most of us are salespeople, and you run away from any type of a detail-oriented work, as I would say. So this requires you to get into the details and track things. You have to track things. I know, talking even to my brother who's in real estate, one of the hardest parts about the marketing budget is tracking and actually keeping track of what you're doing so you can actually refine your marketing budget and you can do better next year or next quarter, however often you look at it. And so I think the first thing you got to point out is you need one. You actually have to have a marketing budget. And I mentioned before we came on the live, we're hoping to hit, 40 plus million this year. And we just started doing a marketing budget. I know that sounds crazy. We are a marketing company, and just, on your phase of evolution as an entrepreneur type company that you're growing, you don't think of things in terms of, how professional it is. You kind of just do. We never put together a real marketing budget till a couple of years ago. Yeah. But I think we've already seen massive improvement. One, I know we've seen massive improvement in our leads, and I don't know if maybe psychologically that there's an effect on that because you've set out the budget and you've set out the goals, and now you're kind of...
You know where it's coming from.
Yeah, you know what you're doing. It goes back into the visions and the goals, but you got to have one. You got to have a marketing budget. Most of you probably don't listen to this.
Well, I think the other fear is that, number one, when you're going to set out a budget, you don't want to give yourself too much, because you don't want to overspend.
Correct.
But then you also then have this fear that you're not going to give yourself enough to be effective. So you end up in this limbo where you're not doing anything. You're not going through and purposefully looking at where all of your leads are coming from, where your dollars are being spent, all the way down to how much you're spending on your business cards. You're not looking at that because it's scary to think about the investment that it takes, but then also the work and the time that it takes going into tracking it. And that's what we try and do here on the podcast, is just give you some actionable things that you can break it down. Look, you don't have to track everything today. We didn't just start magically tracking everything. There's still
We're still not tracking things appropriately all the way.
There's still a ton of things that we need to build systems for, and we need to get, across departments and make sure that we're all communicating correctly so that we are tracking the right things. Correct. But we've picked a few things that we can specifically hone in on, and the systems and the formulas that we developed around that, like Facebook ads and collecting leads from that, we've then been able to take that and apply it to all of our lead channels, so that when we went into this year looking at what our goals were, we were able to look at where do our leads need to come from, how much are we spending to get those leads, and then tracking it every single, we're kind of obsessive, so we go down to the day, we're looking at every single day, we're looking at the numbers, but holistically we're really looking at a monthly or a quarterly basis and saying, are we getting our return on that investment?
Well, I did a poll on my Instagram, so if you're not following me, follow me at Luke Acree on Instagram, but I did a poll basically asking people, do they have a marketing budget? And it was split, had a bunch of people vote. It was split, had a bunch of realtors actually vote, split 50-50.
Okay.
Meaning like 50% were saying they had a marketing budget, 50% said they didn't.
That's good and bad.
Yeah, it's good and bad. But it's interesting because I think you're touching on the point that keeps people from it. It's the work and the tracking. It's the even understanding, Luke, if I'm making money, I'm going to spend money on marketing. But if I'm not making money, I'm not going to spend any money on marketing. It's the chicken and the egg conundrum. But really what I would challenge all of you to do is the TV show you're going to watch tonight, don't watch that TV show. If you don't have a marketing budget, if you voted on my Instagram poll and you don't have a marketing budget, don't watch that TV show tonight and get your stuff on paper, start developing that marketing budget. That's what it takes, because everybody does things in their life based upon priority.
Right.
And so you're prioritizing that TV show, you're prioritizing what you're doing in your life, whether it's going out to eat, over the marketing budget.
And if you're watching the TV show on Netflix, it's going to be 3, 4, 5 episodes.
Yeah, you're going to binge watch it
right.
if you're anything like us. You're going to binge watch it. But the point being is, like, my challenge to you is stop wasting that precious time and get your marketing budget on paper, because business is all about focus, 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 as Tony Robbins would say, and then accountability to that focus. And your marketing budget is a tool. It is a tool to hold you accountable.
Yeah,
it is an accountability metric.
Right? It's a tool.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how you want to kind of dive into this. I think the first thing is you got to have a marketing budget, but let's talk about like the spend a little bit. Like, let's talk about, where do you start? I mean, you're a real estate agent, you're a financial advisor. Hey, you might be a grocery store even listening to this. Or I think there's a guy that's selling perfumes that's following us that hooked up with me on Instagram. So, where do you start? How much should they be spending on their marketing
you can look
budget?
at general best practices. So if you look at some best practices, the average is about 10%. Your marketing budget should be about 10% of your commission income if you're a service-based sales professional, and that's what your commission is. The other way to do it is to kind of like what we were talking about a little bit, and that's leading with revenue. So one of the reasons that maybe we didn't, it's almost kind of an excuse, but it's not an excuse to do the next step, but we're leading with revenue, looking at what's working and keep doing more of that.
Keep refining. It's evolving.
What you're thinking is, or what you were saying earlier about, I don't want to spend, or I didn't have a good year, or I don't think I'm going to have a good year, so I don't want to put together this marketing budget. Even start now, go back and look at what were your sales last year? What did you spend on marketing? Just to give yourself a foundation for where you're at today. And when you look at what you're spending on marketing, make sure to really dive deep into what that means. That's your business cards. These are the events that you're going to, that you're networking at, because that's essentially marketing for your business. Why are you going there? You're looking there to make relationships and meet people and get referrals. These are your email programs. These are your websites, right, that you may be paying another company for. You may be getting it through your brokerage, whatever you're paying for that. Make sure that you're including all of those costs into what you're spending on marketing. And then think about going into the next year, where instead of saying, well, I don't know if I want to spend this much next year because I don't know if I'll make that. Bank 10% of your gross income this year.
Yes.
Put it back for marketing for the following year. So then you can go into that year confident and comfortable knowing that this is what you want to spend. And that at least, that's not even taking your goals into account and figuring out if that marketing budget will hit your goals, but that at least giving you a number that's consistent and that you can come back and rely on.
Right. Gives you a benchmark. 2 thoughts. One thought I want to make before I lose it, because I think it's super valuable. You can write off. I'm not a tax expert, so don't take tax advice from me, but I believe you can write off like 40% of your marketing. So another good reason to track your business cards, your website, what you're spending at these networking events, you can actually write it off on your taxes. And that's really critical for real estate agents and all that good stuff. The second thing that I think, you're touching on, which is really good, is this 10%. It's a great benchmark, but I think something that you need to think about is, what mode of business are you in?
Right.
No, so if you're just coming into the market, then you're going to have to spend a little bit more. A lot of realtors, a lot of insurance professionals, you will make no money your first year in business. Because I hate to say it that way, but the truth is you're going to make no money if you're doing it, if you're putting in the work, especially from the time you put in. You're working 12 to 18-hour days your first year in the business. Why? Because you have to capture market share. And doing this marketing is all about getting attention. It's capturing market share that turn these people into clients. And so you need to be thinking, what phase of your business are you in? And if you're in the early phases of your business, don't be surprised that you need a budget 20% for your marketing, that you need a budget more for your marketing because you're just either getting started and you don't have websites and stuff like that, or it's even more critical because you got to get your name out there. So you got to spend more money to get your name out there. So I just wanted to make that point, that a little bit of this benchmark of 10% also is going to be dictated by where you're at in your business.
Right. Now, the other way to kind of look at it is, if we talk about Gary Keller a lot here at the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and one of the models
he was the founder of Keller Williams, for those who don't know who's listening. So it's like 140,000 real estate agents now. So amazing.
I think he knows what he's talking about, right?
Yeah, he does know what he's talking about.
But what he kind of breaks it down into is the economic model, which is what goes in. This is your income. Your gross commission income is 100% of the revenue that your business takes in. Then he looks at what goes out. So these are your expenses, and expenses should be broken down into 2 categories. One is your operating expenses. These are your real estate overhead. This applies to any business. We were saying real estate because he founded a real estate brokerage, obviously. But this includes your office, your staff. Says to limit that to 30%. And then look at your cost of sales. And at the end of the day, that's what marketing is. Marketing is cost of sales.
Yep.
It's what you're spending to get your name out there. I think they say that someone has to see your name and photo together like 29 times before they start to put your name and photo together. So that's kind of talking about, this out of home marketing, making sure that you're in the community, you're getting your photo and your branding out there. He says to make sure that you limit the cost of sales to 30%. So he's going even a little bit higher than what we might look at when you start to look at across the industry average. But he said that should be 30% of your GCI. So right there, that's 60% of your income, your gross commission income that's going back into your business. So if you're struggling with getting started with that 10%, like look at that, because I would
encourage you 30%. This is a framework. Way more accurate.
This is a framework to become a millionaire.
Yep.
Real estate agent, service-based sales professional, however you want to frame that.
Well, it's interesting. It's what I think people make the mistake is when you're in business, and especially in real estate or financial advising or insurance, you're dealing a lot of times with bigger ticket items. So your sales cycle is a lot longer. I think in real estate, you're like 14 months a lot of times for a sales cycle from the time you actually get someone from the anonymous state to all the way to actually buying or purchasing something. And so what happens is you're so hungry for that money, and you've put so much on credit cards that when you get that commission check, you know what you do? You hold on to all the money and you spend it all. And you don't, at that moment, you don't function like a business. And I snapped there. Hopefully you guys can hear that snap on the podcast. But you don't function like a business, meaning a business gets that money in and they go, okay, I got my 30% going to operating expenses. I got my 30% going to marketing, and then the rest is for me. Yeah. What real estate agents tend to do, and I'm sorry I'm coming at you guys, but it's the truth. Yeah, what you guys tend to do is you get the money in your bank account and you spend it. And then like you go on your vacation. Right. That's why in our sales process, because we sell to insurance agents, financial advisors, real estate agents, when the market's up, all of a sudden, we're getting tons of deals in. And then when it goes down, everybody's just like, what happened to all my money? And they can't spend any money on marketing when they need to. Right. Where everybody else has now no money to spend. If you would just budget the money right at the transaction and function like a business where you take the 30% out, you can get your bank account to do this for you. I literally have in my bank account, when my money hits direct deposit,
I don't make any conscious decisions of what I save. It just literally
separates it. It separates it, puts this in savings, puts this over here in this account. It does it for me. You need to do that for your business. Super practical. So many people fail to do.
It's the difference. I mean, it's a mindset change, right? It's the difference between looking at that as a paycheck and looking at it as revenue for your business. Correct. And if you're looking at it as revenue for your business, you're going to treat it like a business, not like a paycheck where you're ready to go spend that thing as soon as you get it.
Yep. Here's how I think about marketing, and not to lead us down the goals thing, but I think it's super important. So if I was starting a business today, and I think about my brother, right, who we started in real estate about 1.5 years ago, but I also think about these other realtors that I am working with, and I did a Facebook Live on this, a couple of months ago. But I believe your marketing budget cannot happen until you have set the revenue goal for your business. Right. So if you're, in real estate right now, what is the revenue goal you want to hit? Or what's the GCI you want to hit this year? Because from there, what that does is it leads you down this progression. There, you can now start calculating and getting scientific and process oriented, which is the key to scaling any great business, because you can't scale chaos, as Brad Lee would say. So you got to get scientific and process oriented. So what do I mean? What I mean by that is let's say like Steven has a goal of doing 270,000, I believe, in GCI, which would mean he has to do like 9 million in volume. So he knows now he needs to do 9 million in volume, which is translating to about 60 transactions for him at the average transaction cost he needs. So now he knows I need 60 transactions for my business. From there, it gets into the marketing aspect.
Break it down,
which is where are these 60 transactions coming from? Yep. We have mentioned and harped on this before, but if I could give you any message for your business, if I could help you in understanding if you feel stressed right now, because all business owners feel stressed, and where stress comes from and where fear comes from is being out of control. And where out of control comes from is because you haven't planned. Right? You haven't planned and you don't have a process in place to take away that fear. And where the process can't be developed is because you're not educated and because you don't have the education and the experience. So it all starts with educating yourself, listening to podcasts like Stay Paid Podcast. Amen. So you have to educate yourself. But the point I would make to you is that the number one thing I would give you is Start reverse engineering.
Yes.
Put pen to paper, 60 transactions. Where are they going to come from? So if you're a real estate agent, are they going to come from FSBOs, referrals, expired listings? Are they going to come from your geographic farm, social media, internet leads? Where are they coming from? Then, and you have the mortgage calculator, you have our leads calculator kind of up there and revenue calculator on your screen, which I think you should talk about. Then,
I'm just letting you go, man.
Yeah, well,
You're
then you
roll.
can go, you can literally go, what are the conversion percentages?
Right.
What are, like for email marketing, I pulled this off of Marketo. I can't quote how relevant this is, so I don't know when they did this, but this was on their site. If you go to Marketo's site, they talk about the conversion rates for different acquisition channels, and they have email marketing, paid marketing, webinars, nurture campaigns, referrals, and they put on there that emails are converting at 0.55% for their customers. And they obviously have hundreds of thousands of customers. So now you know if you're going to get that average, which you got to track, but you can go off of that as a benchmark that, hey, let's say I'm going to convert at the average level, which is 0.55%. Now you know how many emails it's going to take to send out. Right? And then you can go to MailChimp and go, how much is that going to cost me?
To
send 500 emails, 1,000 emails, how much is that? And all of a sudden, guess what you have? You have a detail of your marketing budget. And if you do that for everything, then you're going to end up with a benchmark of what your marketing budget should be, and then add another 30% to that, and you're probably accurate.
Yeah, you have every single channel, how much you need to spend on it. So like, if you guys have checked out our leads calculator before, you can do this yourself. We'll probably also throw this up in the show notes. But all I did last night was go through this thing and just add 2 more rows to it, which actually backs up into the cost. So the way that this leads calculator worked before was you put in your desired annual revenue. At the bottom of the spreadsheet, you put in what your average commission is for your sales, and then what your average listing price would be if you're a real estate agent. And then you work backwards. So that gives you how many total sold listings you need. Just like you said, Stephen needs to close
60, although he's told us he upped his goal to 100 now.
I like that. Yeah, he hired some team members.
Started with.
Yeah, so then we just worked through some industry standards saying, okay, if I'm taking listings, right, and the conversion rate to listing sold is 65%, back that up to great. What's my conversion rate to taking a listing? 80%, great. Back that up to how many listing appointments do I need to take in order to get those listings? And then all the way back to where that lead first comes in. So for Facebook, for example, we took it all the way back to ad views, impressions of your ads. If you're running ads on Facebook and you have a 3% click-through rate on that, and your landing page visitors are converting at 20%, meaning they're filling out a form to request more information, and then those leads for your business, they become leads at that point, then convert to listing appointments at 5%, which is pretty low, but 5%, these are unknown people. They might just be wanting, an e-newsletter or something like that. Then you back that all the way up to, well, great. Now you know what you need to get at the top. So what's the cost? What is the cost per impression? If we looked at what ours were running over the last month, we're spending 2.5 cents per impression on our ads. Right? So if you have that same result, now you're going to have to edit this for yourself. That means that you need to spend $2,670 a year on Facebook advertising. That's $222 a month on Facebook advertising, which should lead to 8,900 impressions, 267 page visitors, 53 leads for your business through your website, 2.67 listing appointments per month, 2 listings taken, 1.39 listings sold, averages out at 8,300 in GCI. Now that's to make 100 in GCI, 100,000.
So it's interesting because I know what is probably going through your mind right now hearing this. Oh my goodness, that's so complicated. I can't do that myself. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Get over it. What I mean by that is, meaning we're going to put this revenue calculator on our staypaidpodcast.com. And maybe I'm feeling a little aggressive today. Maybe I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I don't know. But my point being is, it goes back to my comment in the beginning, which is the Netflix show, right? You're going to watch Netflix tonight.
Do this.
Do this.
Do this.
Do this for your business, because what you just saw was a scientific way, a process-driven way. And what that's going to enable you to do is live a life of freedom, because now you won't be stressed. Because now you know, I got to spend this much money on Facebook. And even when you have a bad day, you're not panicked.
And then all you have to do is track it.
Yes.
The only thing you have to do after that is saying, great, am I getting this many impressions for this dollar? If I'm not, then what do I need to spend, and am I comfortable adjusting that? Because that's going to be such a big, and we'll talk about this a little bit later once we start getting into implementing your marketing plan and or your marketing budget, what you need to do for it. But it's plan, do, check, act, right? You have to plan it out. Then you got to do it.
Yep.
Then you have to do it.
Which is usually the hardest part.
Then you have to go back and keep an eye on it. And this is where it comes down to managing your calendar, managing your time. What are your priorities? Set aside 30 minutes in your day. Do it at the beginning of the day when it's quiet, the office is quiet, you've gotten up early, you've gone to the gym, you've done everything you need to do from that standpoint. Not hard.
And the Excel
just
doc,
sit down and review it.
The Excel doc is there. He's put it together for you. The formulas
just to kind of, because Facebook ads may seem like, oh, I don't have a website, I don't have Facebook ads. Let's look at postcards.
Yeah,
the exact same formula for postcards. All we did was we removed 2 rows because you don't have the landing page conversion anymore on a postcard, right? A postcard is a direct response. You're looking for someone to email you back or call you. So same desired annual revenue, because again, we're not putting all of our marketing dollars in one basket. We're going to split that out across multiple channels. So I've got Facebook, I've got postcards, I've got custom publications, I've got newsletters. I have all these other different channels that you mentioned as well, email. So for postcards cost about 70 cents a postcard to send low end, right? If you're ordering, because you've got 35 cents in postage.
It depends
alone.
how much you're ordering, but yes, it's usually around 70 cents.
So the average response rate on a postcard is 4.25%. Okay. So then that 4.25%, that's your number of leads that are calling your business. The conversion rate from those leads to a listing appointment, I put at 7.5%. Okay. I don't know. You got to just start with the number, right?
Yeah.
Just start with the number, see how that works. If someone's calling you from a postcard, you got to figure there's some interest there.
Yeah, you better be able to
close that. So then work that all the way back, 70 cents per postcard. You need to send out 10,000 postcards for a year. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be consistently hitting the same group of people.
Correct.
Yeah, you don't want to send to 10,000 different people.
Yep.
That breaks down to 837 postcards a month. So get a list of 800 to 900 people.
Yep.
Right. Send them a postcard every month. Develop a drip nurture program. That's going to be $586 per month, which should also equate to, now not that same month, but it will equate to down the line $8,300 in GCI. Then I did the same thing because I had to do it with our magazine.
Yes.
I had to do it with American Lifestyle.
Yes.
So we're looking at, based on surveys that we've ran with our readers, a 38% referral rate if you're sending out the publication, again, consistently over the course of a year to the same group of people. If those referrals are closing at 20%, which I think is pretty good for a referral, might actually be a little bit low. Again, I always like to go low.
Well, when I talk to financial advisors, they tell me they close 70%.
Financial is definitely a lot higher. Yeah, just in terms of the industries. Our magazine costs $379 per issue. You need to be sending to 70 people every other month. That's $133 a month, $1,500 a year. Brings you the same 100,000 GCI in GCI.
Yeah,
so that's $300,000, right? Yep. GCI across the 3 channels. The total budget for that annually is $11,308.
Yep.
Now that's not saying you're going to get that, but that's just showing you what that is. Now that's 4% of your GCI. So that's not 10% marketing yet.
Yeah.
Now you need to start adding in other channels or other tools that you might need to use. This is where your business cards come into play. Mm-hmm. Then you start putting in your billboards and your ads,
but the
your
point
newspaper
is you
ads,
can do
things
this
that you might not be able to track as well.
All those channels,
right.
You can do this.
Yes, this is all extremely trackable marketing.
Yep.
Then you kind of play in your branding and some of these other things that you're going to that you might not be able to track a lead exactly back to.
Yep.
Gives you so much room to play with then in terms of your budget.
There's 2 things you're looking for here. The one is you want to make more money this year. The second is you want more time. So really, technically, you want to make more money in less time. And so what I would encourage you with your marketing budget is most people don't have one because they don't know where to start. Where you start is at your revenue goal. And then you reverse engineer and you have to ask yourself, so you know how many transactions it's going to take you, whether you're selling financial products or you're selling, houses, it doesn't matter. You know how many transactions it's going to take. Then from a marketing perspective for your budget, you got to figure out the channels that it's going to come from. So I did a coaching call with a realtor not too long ago where he said he believes 90% of his business should come from open houses. So then he has to ask himself, okay, if he's doing open houses, what does it cost him to run an open house and do what
that's
I think
the money
Joshua
you spend
Smith
to make that happen. That's the time.
Correct. Exactly. So he has to put that in to this. And now he's figuring out if I'm getting 90% of my deals, and let's just use Steven as an example, if he's getting 90% of 60 deals from open houses, he's going to have a lot of money spent on the print material that he's going to use at those open houses. He's going to have a lot of money spent on the signage he's going to use for that open houses. He's going to have a lot of money spent on the food that he's going to use at those open houses. But my point,
we're going to throw in a bonus download in the show notes for our open house kit in case you're interested.
Yes,
we're talking about open houses.
Open house kit, and it's free, so it won't cost you anything.
Yep.
I mean, you got to pay for the printing, but the design and everything is free. But the point I'm making is that this is what you need to do in your business. If your business is not where it needs to be today, if you're stressed, unhappy, you don't have enough time to spend with your kids, don't have enough time to spend with your family, you're not making the GCI, the money you want to make, this is it. This is it. Literally put pen to paper, use our Excel doc. It's going to be in the show notes on staypaidpodcast.com. Use this Excel doc to reverse engineer, and it should tell you exactly what you need to spend in order to hit that GCI, in order to hit that commissions, that net profit ultimately you want. And if you find yourself going, Luke, I don't have any money to spend on marketing, because a lot of us are in that boat. A lot of us are in the boat where I can't afford a website. I can't afford, postcards, whatever it is. The truth is, I'm going to be real with you. You can't afford it. You just got to give something else up. It goes back to the priority. So you can afford it. It's just what you're willing to give up and sacrifice. But here's what I would tell you. This same formula, this same principle works for cold calling. A form of marketing is sales prospecting. Yeah, it takes long. You're picking up the phone, you're calling people, you're going face to face, but that is a form of getting your name out there and getting attention. And that costs you just your time. So you can do this same formula where you go, I don't have any money to spend on a website, any money to spend on business cards, any money to spend. All you have right now is your physical being. You can still go, I'm going to go knock on 100 doors, which 100 doors I convert at maybe 0.1%. So you can literally walk through the same formula, and it will give you the greatest gift that any business owner wants, which is it will give you freedom, because now you have a system and a playbook to run, and you're not waking up every day frantic going, what am I doing? What am I spending? Where do I go? Where do my leads come from? This is the answer.
Powerful, man. So that's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and smash that subscribe button. Make sure to check us out and Luke out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. You can check Luke out at Luke Acree. You can check ReminderMedia out at ReminderMedia. Next week, join us again on Facebook Live on Thursday. We're going to talk about developing your mission and vision statement.
Oh, this one's going to be a good one.
Yeah. So for this week, I am Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke Acree, and I'm going to close with this action item. I think you guys already know what I'm going to tell you to do. Go to staypaidpodcast.com, download this Excel doc, which is the revenue generating calculator. Put in your numbers, spend some time, skip the Netflix show, skip watching some YouTube. Do this. Download it. Put into action these principles that we talked about today. Remember, the difference between a top producer and a mediocre producer is top producers take action. Take action on that today.